Be on Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, official sponsors of the Irish rugby team. Team of us, everyone in.
Yeah, welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. Shane Hannon with you through until 7 o'clock. 25 minutes of the show left. 78 minutes played at the Aviva Stadium, and it's Ireland 21, Scotland 5. Our rugby coverage is with thanks to Vodafone, official sponsors of the Irish rugby team. Team of us, everyone in. And approaching these last few minutes, Brent Pope is with me in studio. We'll have Fiona Hayes on the line as well from the Aviva Stadium very shortly for all the post-match analysis as well. A yellow card has been given by Wayne Barnes to one of the Scottish players here. So for the last couple of minutes, Scotland will be without one of their players. I'll just find out for you who that is that's received the yellow card for Scotland. But it's a funny game, Brent. Brent Pope was with me in studio here, and it's kind of petered out a little bit as Ireland go in search of this fourth try.
Yeah, as I said, it won't be the DVD I'll be getting to watch at Christmas time for viewing. Yes, it's been very stop-start. You know, look, you can just about think that Ireland will get out of it what they set to get out of it, which is possibly a bonus point win to put some heat on France. But I don't think it's the performance that you could really say that would match the start of the Six Nations. What I said before this match was that, you know, let's start off with a game like Wales where they carried on from the autumn series, a bit of a dip in performances in those other matches despite wins.
As Ireland get over the whitewash, I think.
Yeah, it looks like that's a certain.
Assume they got the ball down. Johnny Sexton certainly thinks so. Anyway, he is going mad celebrating. That looks like the bonus point try for Ireland. Wayne Barnes, I think, agrees with him. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming. 2 tries in each half, Brent. But they really wanted that try.
Yeah, and Scotland will kick themselves a bit, you know, because they had their own penalty opportunity down the other end of the field and a couple of mistakes and a stupid 2-3 stupid penalties allowed, you know, Ireland into the field of play where they can get the opportunity for that for that fourth try. But I don't, you know, I'd have to see the permutations, and that would take a skilled mathematician to come up with everything like that. But I don't think it's going to really matter as much. I think that it really just clearly comes down to if England beat France, Ireland win the Six Nations, and I think that's what I'd be looking at. I still, going back to my earlier point, if you were neutral, and that's what I always take it as, if you were neutral watching this match, would you say that it was a fantastic Irish performance? No. Would you say that they got the job done a bit like England? I thought a lot of the pundits were quite critical of Ireland last week against England. When I look back on it and thought, okay, job done, got the points over England, despite the fact that they were playing against 14 men. Sometimes it is a little bit more difficult to come to terms with psychologically, especially when it happens so early in the game. You try to force the game. So what I wanted to probably see is a performance that was kind of at the very top of Ireland's game, so that they could finish the season and say, okay, a little bit unlucky in the second half against France, you know, great wins against Wales and Scotland, you know, a bit of a leaky boat against England despite the win, and say, look, it's been a pretty good Six Nations. It still has been. You know, I think Andy Farrell will look back and Johnny Sexton, regardless of what happens later tonight, and say, look, it was a pretty good season. I always thought pre-season that it would either be an Ireland Grand Slam or an Ireland Championship win or a French Championship win. I think when we looked at the other teams, Wales were going through a lot of injury problems early on. Scotland, you know, you'd have to say probably weren't there or thereabouts at any stage to win a Six Nations. So then it came down really between the top 3, which was England, Ireland and France. England were going through real building. Eddie Jones was mucking the team around with different selections, not really knowing what his pattern was. So then it come down to really, as I always saw it, as a 2-horse race.
Yeah.
Ireland win away in Paris. They win the Grand Slam with the Six Nations. They lose, then they probably end up with where they're probably going to end up, which is second. So yes, a good championship. I'm looking forward to the New Zealand tour. I think the good things that have come out of this is that we've seen the work-ons, we've seen the emergence of a world-class hooker, I think, in Dan Sheehan. I really think that much about him, you know, that he could be the next kind of Keith Wood type player. You know, and it's not about getting any calls from his parents or whatever saying thanks for saying it about him. I've just followed his progress for the last couple of years, and I've seen a really a mature player at international level with so few caps. So he's certainly not overawed by the opposition. So there's the development of those players. I'd like to see Joey Carberry have more matches, and that'll happen hopefully over the New Zealand tour and early into next season and the friendly matches or whatever. So let's establish before the World Cup who our next out half is, and also the further development of, maybe looking for a prop. Keane Healy, good game today, but I think you've got to look at his age and look forward to the next World Cup and say, look, in 18 months he may be 35 or 36, depending on when his birthday is. So is that getting a bit old for a World Cup? Probably. So we've got to find a viable alternative down the line for those types of players. But all in all, yeah, they'll be pretty happy as I am. Not that they'll really care what Brent Pope thinks, but
Well, look, 26 points to 5 was the final score.
Yeah.
It was Ben White, the London Irishman, who got that late yellow card, by the way, for Scotland. Conor Murray getting that last try for Ireland, and Johnny Sexton did pull the conversion right and wide, but it doesn't matter. No. It didn't matter. Got the bonus point, 26 points to 5. Fiona Hayes, the ex-Ireland and Munster international, is on the line with us from the Aviva Stadium. Fiona, a fairly happy Aviva Stadium. Ireland have won the Triple Crown.
Yes, that's it. Job done. It might have been the prettiest game at times, but look, that was the plan to come win the Triple Crown. Everything else is out of Ireland's hands, so they've gone and done the job, and the crowd has just gone off when they heard Dan Sheehan. He's giving an interview now, but what a game he had, even getting man of the match, and he was gone off before the 60-minute mark. It just shows what a trooper and what a strong ball carrier he is.
Would you agree with Brent's analysis that he's world class, maybe a future Keith Wood type player? Like he has been extraordinary in this Six Nations campaign.
He is just showing his class. He stepped in, obviously wasn't the first choice hooker at the start of this campaign, and just seamlessly stepped up in France. Not a bother on him. He doesn't look like pressure gets anywhere near him, but it was just it's sitting here in the Aviva and watching his work right around the pitch that really absolutely amazed me today. He got around that pitch, his footwork in contact, he always goes to that outside shoulder and gets space, and his darts and his lineouts have been brilliant as well here today, and obviously that scrum was tightened up and he done his job while he was on there.
It might not have been the greatest game to watch, Fiona, but atmosphere wise it seemed like a pretty raucous atmosphere in the Aviva Stadium, to be fair.
Yeah, it was good atmosphere. I know Jerry Thornley was on last week saying that there hasn't really been much of an atmosphere at games, but it was quite tense, I think, maybe after 20 minutes, because Ireland didn't have the ball a lot, but it definitely livened up. There was a few rounds of the Fields of Athenry that gets everyone going. The points were flowing, and absolutely delighted with the win, and a lot of people are staying around now to see Ireland get presented with that Triple Crown.
You mentioned Brent, it's a scrappy enough game, but overall, Andy Farrell reasonably pleased with what he's seen over the last 80 minutes?
Yeah, if you're back at school, you'd probably say report card, 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Impressive year's work. Could do better at times. That would be often what my reports always used to say. What did I always used to get? You're too busy disrupting class or something to do anything with his life. But no, I think on the balance he'll be pretty pleased. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any long-term serious injury concerns. Ryan's concussion or repeated concussions would worry me a bit from a perspective outside of the game. I mean, I think he needs a bit of time away from the game to get that right, go through those correct protocols. Longer term, I think we've seen the establishment of Hanson and Sheehan as real finds. Return to form by players like James Lunn. That's so Gibson Park has had a good tournament. So more positives than negatives. And the negatives would be I think Ireland just need a bit more of a consistent and ruthless streak if they're to dine at the top table regularly. And I'm not saying that Ireland can't beat any team in the world on their day. That's been proven over the last couple of years. I mean, they went into the 2019 World Cup ranked the best side in the world. We know they can beat the All Blacks. We know they can beat South Africa, Australia, all these big nations, England. We know that. Can they do it on a regular basis? That has to come in the next 18 months or so or whatever, so that Ireland can go out to New Zealand maybe steal a win or two out there, which would be great for their confidence, a bit like England did before they won their first World Cup, and then come back in the continued development of the Irish game through the provinces, which has been really strong. So, the longer that Leinster and Munster and Ulster and Connacht compete in Europe is a good launch pad for Andy Farrell. But I think on the balance, coaching-wise as well, I think, 7 or 8 out of team, I can see that Mike Catt's influence, how they're trying to play the game. Probably not playing it as quickly as he would like in the sense, but I can see where he's trying to go. He's trying to develop a new style away from Joe Schmidt's style, still keep a core of what Schmidt did, all the great work he did, but then introduce another way of playing, which is like the likes of Tyg Furlong, Tyg Byrne, these types of players, Doris, Cohen and all these guys being able to play in any position in the field. And Catt publicly talks about that. He wants all the players to be able to play if they have to move into the midfield. If Tyg Furlong, we've seen his step-in game at times, we've seen him passing out the back. So that's what he's trying to do. It'll take a bit of time, but I think that. Look, in summation, I suppose, they're headed in the right direction. And I think they'll be a bit disappointed looking back. Will they be happy with... Will Johnny Sexton be happy with the season? Yes, he'll be happy with the Triple Crown. Yes, he'll be happy if they finished... Well, he'd be delighted if they finished for the championship. But I just think there'll be a niggle there somewhere saying, OK, England were right for the picking this year. They might not be right for the picking next time in 2 years' time. France, not so right for the picking, but Ireland did put themselves back in that game. They had a real opportunity to win that match. Grand Slams don't come along that often for Irish rugby. Certainly not as often as they should. I mean, Wales have had plenty more Grand Slams with lesser teams than Ireland have. I think there's a Grand Slam in this team, and I think that's where the younger players need to drive that forward, because that's what they want. They certainly would set out their stall to the coaching staff and to all their players to say, OK, go out to New Zealand, have a really good tour out there, maybe win a match, maybe, who knows, maybe win the 2 tests or whatever, come back and have another great Six Nations next year, and then I suppose their long-term goals will be semi-final, final or World Cup, because I think that will define this generation of players, that they'll go somewhere that, in Star Trek terminology, go somewhere where no other team have gone before. Yeah,
for sure. They need to go that next level.
They do, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Improve themselves. Was Roy Keane talking about football or whatever like that, he'd say the same thing. He's a perfectionist, like Johnny Sexton is. He'd say, look, to be judged as being a great Irish side, we need to do something in the World Cup. It's when athletes talk about giving all their, previous championships away for that one elusive gold medal that so many of them didn't work. And it's always a regret for athletes to say, I did everything, I broke world records and I won world championships, but I just didn't win that Olympic gold medal. So the World Cup is rugby players' Olympic gold medal.
Fiona, if you're in Andy Farrell's shoes, I mean, are you looking at this Scotland performance and England performance as well? Granted, both bonus point victories, but some managers would actually enjoy the fact that there are things to take out of those games that you can't be happy with. That, look, there are things that we can learn from. One of the best things for a team not to get carried away and complacent is to win games, but have things to improve on. And certainly from an Irish perspective, there are a multitude of those things.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to improve on, and we saw us Ireland peak too soon before a World Cup before. So I think Andy Farrell we're heading in the right direction. I think these players, I know Johnny Sexton spoke about after that England victory about the mentality of the team and the mentality of the squad, and other times they might not have won those games. So they're winning these games, and they're winning them with bonus point wins. Obviously, the style of play, as Brett talked about, they want to get wide. Mike Catt has a certain style, and we can see it bursting through and coming into this Irish team, but maybe their skill set at times needs to be improved to play at that high intense. But it's definitely a team that's going in the right direction, and finding players like Mac Hansen, the likes of Dan Sheehan. I thought Andrew Conway was outstanding as well in this Six Nations. There's a lot of players, individual players that are there, and when we lose someone like, I know that people talked about Porter, and he offers such immense, but we've someone like Ireland have someone like Cian Healy stepping into the realm. I thought Dave Kilcoyne came on, he won 2 scrum penalties after 5 minutes. So I think this tournament, obviously you want to win it, you want to be winning that Grand Slam, and there's still a chance of winning it later on, as in winning the Six Nations. But I think all in all, it's been a very successful tournament, and you want people to be disappointed with not winning every game. But France was a big test, and I think they learned a lot from that.
And before we leave you, Fiona, I mean, one other massive positive, and Brent touched on it, is the strength and depth we have on the bench. I mean, Andy Farrell emptied the bench there this evening, and again, you've Conor Murray coming on, playing excellently as he did when he came off the bench against England, scored another try this evening. You mentioned Finlay Bealham and players like that who really just add an extra layer. They're not there just to make up the numbers or add fresh legs, but they add an extra layer to this Irish team when they come off the bench.
Yeah, and that's what you want in a World Cup. You want guys coming on. I mean, how many lines have we coming on here today to this Irish team? You want people to come on and make a difference, and we saw that especially in the England game. These guys came on, the likes of Robbie Henshaw. Whether he's going to be starting going forward, we're not too sure, but these guys come on and make a big difference, and that's what you want as a squad. You want to be under pressure at training from people coming up behind you, and to not feel comfortable in any jersey. And I think Andy Farrell is building that. We see these players, they're, you know, when they have a good game, they're rewarded and they hold on to that jersey, but there's always lads in the back there scrapping to try and catch that jersey off them.
Absolutely. Listen, great stuff, Fiona. I hope you enjoyed the game. Thanks a million for everything this evening.
No worries, thanks Shane, loved it.
Great stuff. Fiona Hayes there, the former Munster and Ireland international. Brent, before we let you go here in studio, 8 o'clock is what we're all counting down to, and everyone in the pubs across Dublin and Ireland now are counting down to is can England do us a favour? We see Ireland lifting the Triple Crown trophy there for the first time in home soil since 2004, but we've only got about a minute here or so left. But can England do us a favour?
It's a tough one to call, and the simple answer is yes. Can they? The difficult answer is will they? That's a more difficult question. I think that if they can get at France early and they can upset the sort of French rhythm motivationally wise, in a sense, Dupont hasn't been at his best, and I don't think he's carrying the captaincy role too easily when games become tight. So he hasn't been his best. Intermac certainly hasn't been at his best. They still have quality players all across the park. We know that, and they desperately want to win a Grand Slam leading up to the World Cup or something, because they want to. They see it different to Ireland. I know Ireland talked about, you know, peaking too early or something like that, and we've seen that before. France want to be the other. They want to be one of the top ranked sides going into the World Cup because it's at home. So I just don't think that England have the players to do it. I think in another year, when they had those big ball players like Vunipola brothers and Tuolangi, those players that can get over the gain line and match the physicality. If they match France's physicality, which I do believe they have it in the pack to do it. I just don't believe that they have in the back. When you've got the French guys there in the back line that are very big and very physical, I think that'll be the difference. But look, you know, I love French rugby, you know, and I've always loved French rugby. Would I like England to do them a favour? Yeah, because it means that Ireland will win the championship, and I'd be delighted for them. So, and Andy Farrell, who's come across really well this season and is talking, and you can see a real bond between the Irish players and their coaches, which is great.
Absolutely.
So, final thing is, you know, I'm delighted with the season. Could we have had better games? Yeah. Could we have better performance? Yeah. Got the wins and put ourselves in a position that we could still take the championship if
yeah, exactly. Touch wood, fingers crossed, and we'll all look ahead to 8 p.m. this evening. Listen, Brent Pope, been great to have you in across the Six Nations.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it, and back into the media. So it's,
exactly, we'll have to make it a habit to get you in here for sure,
absolutely.
100%. Brent Pope there, and Fiona Hayes as well. You'll have heard analysing that Ireland-Scotland game. So we look ahead now to 8 o'clock. Hopefully, as we said, the English can do us a favour. Loads still to come tomorrow on Off the Ball from 1 to 7. Will O'Callaghan in the hot seat. The paper review from 1:30. Maura Trastny-Callig and Tommy Conlon. 3 to 4 o'clock rugby reaction from Shane Byrne and Cian Tracy. We'll have live Premier League commentary, Tottenham and West Ham, Richie McCormick alongside Brian Kerr for that 4:30 game, and loads of updates from the Allianz National League's games as well. So that's Will O'Callaghan on air tomorrow from 1 o'clock to 7. But for now, from me, Shane Hannon, and all the team, have a great evening.